Jeremiah 51:9. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her. Let us go up everyone into his own country. For her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies. Call halal Yahweh Bashanah Shai Bashem Rakakadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. To the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners. And to the Akwaf that are listening and learning, to you, I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago, coming at you with another lesson in truth. And this is a story that has been circulating on the internet, and a lot of law enforcement around basically America's safety, its security is compromised. All right, and I'm not gonna say anything myself. I'm going to allow the mainstream media to inform you. And this is CNBC, and the same police officer was also interviewed on Fox News. And then how Esau get down. They the controlled opposition. So what they like to do is when something is running amok, what they will tell you is they like to get out ahead of it. So they'll bring it out so that they can try to control the narrative of how it's brought out. But that's neither here nor there. What you're looking at is that division, of people divided. And with the law enforcement being thinned out already and crime being, off the charts, it's about to get even worse in all these major cities. And as you can see, this was September 20th, 2021. So that's like literally a week ago. All right. And the one on Fox, I believe, aired about 3 or 4 days ago. So this is an ongoing story and an ongoing problem. So without any further ado, let's let it play. It's only like a 2-minute, 30 second video with Officer Gutierrez, who more than likely Issacharite. All right, he's a Jake, and I'm actually used to the Bay Area was my home for about 10 years, so I'm familiar with this area.
It is the personal choice impacting personnel across the Bay Area. Get a vaccine, get an exemption, or potentially lose your job. The deadline for San Jose City employees to show...
And then let me add this too, is that all the exemptions will eventually be pushed to the side. There's just a step in their control of the narrative. They're allowing you to come with these exemptions, but eventually all the exemptions are going to be denied and pushed to the side, and they're going to push forward, right? And it's going to cause a lot of division and a lot of insurrections, all right?
Proof of a COVID vaccination is looming. It's just 10 days away. Tonight, though, there's concern that could lead to a wave of resignations by the end of this month. NBC Bay Area's Mariam Favreau talked to a reserve police officer who says that mandate has him resigning.
Dave Gutierrez is not vaccinated, but he told me he was perfectly happy to submit weekly negative COVID tests to keep his job as a reserve officer. But now he says the city's new mandate has changed all that, and he's quit. And he's worried other officers will do the same. Dave Gutierrez worked his last shift as a San Jose reserve officer.
You can see this guy. This guy is, is a middle-aged man. This guy is like in his late 40s. Maybe he could even be in his early 50s. Jake ages better than the other nations, and he's pretty fit and healthy for a guy his age, kind of like myself. He's just you can clearly see that he's a very active guy. He stays in shape, works out, eats well, etc., etc. Okay, so take that and listen to him closely and take that into consideration when he's speaking.
Saturday, he says he resigned yesterday because of San Jose's vaccine mandate.
To me, it's my faith, my belief in what I know my body and what I want to put into it. So my choice is not to be vaccinated.
Today, Dave sent this letter to the city manager expressing his concerns that starting September 30th, all employees are required to show proof of vaccination or get a medical or religious exemption. Employees that don't face disciplinary action, including termination.
I feel like we've done nothing wrong by making a choice not to be vaccinated. So why would you discipline me?
After 23 years with SJPD, Dave retired in 2019 and returned as a reserve officer. He says he would have stayed on if he could have continued to test for the virus weekly, but when the city took away the choice, he chose to quit instead of applying for an exemption.
And which the exemptions would have been wiped away anyway. And what they're not telling you about Dave is a former Navy SEAL. All right, he was a Navy SEAL before he joined the police department. And most people in Navy SEALs, Marine Force Recon, Army Scouts, guys in these special forces type units, what they usually do if they don't stay in the military for a full career, they usually end up becoming law enforcement. All right, that's the next step, because the law enforcement is, probably a good portion of the United States law enforcement is former military. All right, and this is going to be a problem, because now law enforcement is going to be compromised, same as the military. And it's a story that they've buried, and now that they love the distraction stories, because all of a sudden R. Kelly's in the news, found guilty on all these points, all charges, et cetera, but the story about the Marine lieutenant colonel with 17 years, combat veteran, highly decorated, with a whole bunch of men that would rally behind him. They came against this thing, asking for transparency about what happened in Afghanistan. You have a lot of disheartened soldiers too, and I was watching the beloved brother Wakar Kwam out there in London at his live show earlier, and there's a lot of disenfranchised soldiers who are second, third generation military, and they've seen what's happened and how wrong the soldiers are done. And as you always hear us say, a great portion of the homeless people in America, all right, are former soldiers. Many of them are highly decorated, formerly, decorated. So the soldiers are beginning to see that they've been duped, and that the very thing that they thought they were fighting for, Constitution, democracy, freedom, that's all been hijacked by big tech, pharma, and Fortune 500 corporations, and that they're not really fighting for freedom and all those other things like they thought. He mentioned a story about Patrick Tillman, I believe that was his name. The football player who wrote the letter, how he was going to come back and talk about how they were guarding opioid fields, poppy fields. And all of a sudden he ends up dead. So that's going to be a great insurrection, because that lieutenant colonel, that Marine, he's in the brig right now. And the mainstream media is not talking about that story at all. And you best believe that's got a lot of Marines and former Marines and high ranking. You also had all those retired generals who came forth as well, man. So basically what America has done, they've trained their opposition, because you're about to see more than likely this is the Egyptian versus the Egyptian. You're about to see these patriots and these constitutionalists, these America-loving patriarchs that can see that their government is being hijacked and controlled and not governed by the very laws and things that they swear in on, the flag and everything that they swear in to go defend is being wiped away. So you can really have a problem, a serious problem. Okay, let's go to 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter. And start the 15th verse, and it reads, "For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and in the course of their actions they shall stand in their power." All right, so they're going to go against their superiors and try to establish their own. And try to put the government back in place with their own people. All right. And that whole thing, all the rumors about Donald Trump, he could very well be a part of that. I don't know. But what I do know is that, these so let me close this door, Sloppy. What I do know is that these Edomites and these and the Jakes alike, that's all, you know, that's joined unto them via their law enforcement and military enforcement organizations are about to clash with one another. All right, so let's click to another video. This one here with Dabu 7, and now these upcoming power supply shock and global markets will feel the pinch very soon, and of China's next crisis. So how that's going to affect America? Well, let's let him talk about it. He can explain it better than I can. Damn commercial. And I can't click off of it.
This is Dabu 7. It seems that they're coming down all avenues right now at the people. And this is a global thing. Here within due time, internet, lights, things of that nature, it's going to start going out and down in many different countries. And this is by design. Do you understand this? This isn't...
Yeah, I also believe, too, that's to keep the communication down for these forces that are going to be trying to rally against the oppressive powers that be. I think that's another reason why they plan to do this. All right?
An accident. This isn't because of constraints and someone dropped the ball here and there. No. This is all by design. You better see that quick. Now, China saying they're going to have to cut back and heading into this winter. This is crazy. Natural gas and coal reserves are at a low. This is when you do not want to see this happening, especially in the United States. Now, for a long time, all the way up through the Trump administration, we were swimming in natural gas in this country through the fracking and all that.
You know, and there's a prophecy about, you know, these things happening in the wintertime, how this extra added woe. Okay? Real quick, let me, and when it does happen, you know, it's not only going to be, you know, these opposing armies against each other, but it's going to be the people against the people because of the lack of food and resources. All right. It says, 2 Ezra 6:24, at that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. The springs and fountains shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. So it's going to be no water, and because the water, guess what? The water's connected to the electrical grid now. It wasn't in the past, but now it is. So when these power outages come, there'll be no water on top of that. So things are about to get real nasty, and I'm quite frankly, I'm happy about it. I'm glad, all right, because these non-believers, these scoffers, and these spoiled Americans, it's time. These Edomites especially, it's time that they get what they're due. All right, that they've been living deliciously and comfortably, while everyone else has suffered because of them. All right, as a race because of them, which the last video is going to solidify that. But let's let Dabu speak a little bit more.
They've stopped it. Then they started exporting. Now our reserves are low heading into this winter. Did you know that? Did you know that as the political goons say that you cannot sell any coal, that China's buying it at a more rapid rate than it ever has? Who's selling it to them? The U.S. government? But you're not allowed to? You've been suckered and you've been had. The biggest thing that...
And that's the same thing with the military and the police. They realize that they're not serving and protecting what they thought they were. They're serving and protecting the interests of the big pharma, of the globalists, not for the people and for the government, for the Constitution. They're starting to realize that, and it's going to cause a real problem.
Any of you've got is the natural resources beneath your feet that God gave you. To keep the lights on, to keep the house heated, no matter what, especially against a tyrannical government. And now they're here telling you that last line of defense you can't use, you can't sell, while they're using it, while they're selling it all day long. And in turn, they're going to turn around and shut the lights off on everyone. So what are you going to do? You're going to starve in the mountains? You're going to freeze with no electric, no power in the mountains?
So in the mountains, in the cities. All right? And people going to kick in doors, looking for food. All right? Looking for alcohol, Food, alcohol, women, cigarettes, medicines, aspirins, pain relief, whatever you have, man. That's where that's where the term booty comes from. You know? Booty was your collection. And typically women was a part of that. So all you single, I don't need no man, I can do bad by myself, women. Oh boy. Yeah, these marauders are about to have a party with you. Let's go on to the next video. Yeah. There we go. And
that actually means. But there is a passage that I found particularly striking on page 43 of the book, in which you talk about this moment in history and what it means. If you will, I'd like you to read that
Sure.
paragraph for me.
This moment in history marks the end of a long, sad tale of greed and murder by the white races. It is inevitable that for the final show, we vomited up a figure like Trump. Europeans and Americans have spent 5 centuries conquering, plundering, exploiting, and polluting the earth in the name of human progress. They use their technological superiority to create the most efficient killing machines on the planet, directed against anyone and anything, especially indigenous cultures, which stood in their way. They stole and hoarded the planet's wealth and resources. They believed that this orgy of blood and gold would never end, and they still believe it. They do not understand that the dark ethic of ceaseless capitalist and imperialist...
Let's stop right there. All right? He just said something, and I missed that the first time. This is Psalms 49 and 11, because he said they think that it's going to go on forever. And this is how you know it's talking about the so-called white man, who is Esau Edom. And the name of this video is Chris Hedges Speaks on the Fall of Edomite Supremacy. Put up by GMS Adawan Ratazah 2. GMS Adawan Ratazah 2. Chris Hedges Speaks on the Fall of Edomite Supremacy. And this was On Contact with Chris Hedges, which is an RT show. All right. Psalms 49 and 11. Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names. All right, so let's take it back a little bit, a few seconds.
That the dark ethic of ceaseless capitalist and imperialist expansion is dooming the exploiters as well as the exploited. But even as we stand on the cusp of extinction, we lack the intelligence and imagination to break free from our evolutionary past. As the warning signs become more palpable, rising temperatures, global financial meltdowns, mass human migrations, endless war, poisoned ecosystems, rampant corruption among the ruling class.
Everything that we say, because they're responsible for it. Deforestation, the destruction of the air, the polluting of the water, the polluting of the air, the polluting of the soil. All right, the extinction of animals, ecosystems, the extinction of people, the historical cover-ups, destruction of heritages. All right, he said they would, any indigenous population that would get in their way for greed and wealth, and they've yet to pay for any of this. But now their sins have reached up unto the heaven, and the whole world is looking at them with those narrow eyes. The devil has been revealed. Is this the man? That was referring to Lucifer. When you go back and say, how is Lucifer fallen from heaven? About 5 scriptures, paragraphs later, it says, is this the man? All right. And you're looking at him. And he's telling on himself, the spirit of Psalm 64 and 8. All right. They can't help it. Just like the video yesterday with Professor Tudor Parfit admitting that the Negroes in Africa that migrated to Africa from Jerusalem, and many of them that were sold over here in America are the true Jews, the bloodline descendants of who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. All the truth is coming out now. All right?
We turn to those who chant, either through idiocy or cynicism, the mantra that what worked in the past will work in the future. Factual evidence, since it is impediment to what we desire, is banished.
We're
Jeremiah 51:10. Yahweh have brought forth our righteousness. Come, let us declare it in Zion, the work of Yahweh our power. Make bright the arrows, gather the shields. Yahweh have raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes, for his device is against Babylon to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of Yahweh, the vengeance of his temple. So the EU is breaking up, and all these nations and these nation states are forming against America and angry with America, and they're all going to fire their arrows on it. All right. And you are witnessing the end of Edomite superiority, the end of the rule of the so-called white man. And his future is slavery. He's got 1,000 years of slavery. All right. And then at the end of that, he's going to get rounded up and get destroyed. The Edomites, Psalm 63:1, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus, has to come back to a world ruled by the Edomites. That's what's written. And the Edomites, and then the scripture says that the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He just described to you the wicked and admitted that it's his people. All right. The earth was given unto their hands. This is last scripture, Lamentation 4 and verse 21. And it reads, Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwelleth in the land of Uz. The cup also shall pass through unto thee. Thou shalt be drunken, and thou shalt make thyself naked. All right, and that cup is slavery. So what he's saying is, be glad, meaning enjoy these last moments. Do your gay shit, do your pedophilia, sniff your drugs, sell your drugs. Do you. Your CERN and all your Satan worship. Do it, because this is it. You won't be allowed to do it anymore. You're going to go from riches to rags. Verse 22. The punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion. So our punishment is up. This is it. He will no more carry thee away into captivity. He will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom. He will discover thy sin. So you made yourself naked. Chris Hedges just made you completely naked because he told the truth on you. All praises, all honor, all glory be unto Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Rakak Badash, Wa Abba Babal, Kwam Yasharallah.